It's my pleasure now to introduce the program. You're in for a treat. And so please join me, first of all, in welcoming Suzanne Boyd to the stage, who will be moderating the conversation with James Patterson. Suzanne has spent her career as a writer, interviewer, and storyteller. She launched a successful TV news career after graduating from University of Florida and spent the last 20 years on the air here in West Palm Beach with CBS 12. She just recently retired from the news business and is now producing her own shows. She has created a TV talk show called What Your Friends Won't Tell You. I want to see that. Is launching People of Palm Beach podcast at the end of this month, and she's also the co-author of the children's storybook, The Dream Pillow. Welcome, Suzanne. Now, please join me in welcoming James Patterson. He is Alex Cross. He is the Women's Murder Club. He is Maximum Ride, Michael Bennett. The Worst Years of My Life, Zoo, iFunny, Give Please a Chance, Word of Mouse, NYPD Red, Private, Treasure Hunters, Jackie Haha, and Bookshots. Over 3 million books given away to school kids and the military. Over 5,000 college scholarships for teachers. Over $70 million given to support education. 1 Edgar Award and 6 Emmy Awards. 500 million books sold around the world. Enough said. Here's James Patterson.
I don't know. Are we mic'd?
We are.
Oh, cool. That makes it so much better. You know, this is so cool, Yvonne. This is actually my den. I don't know how you got in there, Yvonne. You're great.
I met Mr. Patterson last night at the VIP reception at the Breakers, and he said we needed to be funny. So he's starting off well.
We'll try.
So when I was a pup reporter at CBS 12, I was the education reporter, believe it or not, about 15 years ago. And you gave a speech at a high school in Riviera Beach to some high school students.
Yeah.
And your message then was...
How was I?
You were amazing.
All right.
I'm telling you, the kids were riveted, and I was kind of surprised because I didn't think they really could connect with someone like you, to be honest. But I mean,
you're going to be funny at my expense. I get it now. Okay. I'm the butt of your jokes. Got it. Okay. I can do that.
But your message was really about literacy and reading and staying in school. And, that was 15 years ago. A lot has changed, namely social media.
Those kids are still there.
They are still there. Have you tweaked your message at all since the digital age?
I've gotten more intense. I've gotten more passionate about it. One of the to me, there are a lot of exciting things that I'm doing in this area. One was the Einstein estate They actually came to Disney and my little imprint at Little Brown. I read a lot of kids' books. And they said they wanted to take Albert Einstein and expose kids around the world, young kids, to Albert Einstein and his theories. And, of course, because of the Einstein people, they're, very smart. And they said, but it has to be entertaining. So I said, oh, okay, so you just want me to take Albert Einstein, his scientific theories, and make it entertaining for little kids, right? Yeah. But to me, that was such an incredible challenge. And because of the work, that first book is out, and it did well. Muhammad Ali's estate just came to me and said, we want you to do a series on Cassius Clay, which is when he was a little kid in Louisville, which to me is another great responsibility, to get kids to understand what it was like for this kid who he didn't know it, but he had dyslexia, so he wasn't a good student. But he was very smart and full of energy and whatever. And they ultimately graduated him from high school as principal. He didn't have the credits, And he said, I'm not going to be the principal that did not graduate this wonderful guy who's going to be the heavyweight champion of the world. He said it right then. So you're graduating. And he got this standing ovation at, whatever. So yeah, we're doing stuff like that, a lot of stuff.
And you seem, your children's books are really taking off. It seems like your passion is really sort of moving.
Yeah, we're making it.
Into that. Why did you start with children's books?
I had a little kid, Jack. He was a bright kid, but he wasn't a big reader. And he actually wrote a book when he was 5 or 6, Death of the Butterfly Catcher. A butterfly catcher gets on a plane, goes halfway around the world, doesn't catch a butterfly, gets on a boat, doesn't catch a butterfly, gets on a train. Jack loves trains, catches the butterfly, gets off the train, isn't looking, gets hit by a train going the other way. Death of the butterfly catcher, butterfly flies away, So he's a good storyteller. He knew, beginning, middle, and end. But he wasn't a big reader. And actually, Cynthia Kanai's here, who was one of his teachers, who absolutely turned Jack around in terms of, really making him a terrific student. And when he was 7 or 8, Sue and I, he wasn't a big reader, and we said, well, you're going to read every day this summer. And he said, do I have to? And we said, yeah, unless you want to live in the garage. He said, no, I don't want to live in the garage. But we went out and we said, we're going to get you some books you're going to like. And this is really important, I think, for a lot of the parents and grandparents. If you have younger kids, they got to read. They just got it. So we went out, we got him about a dozen books for the summer, and he read every day. And by the end of the summer, he had really turned into a very good reader. When he took his SSATs, he got an 800 in reading. Now, that's not going to happen with every single kid, but that's the way. And if kids, if they're not competent readers, and that's what I love about adding the A to STEM, if they're not competent readers, it's all going to be that much harder. Science is going to be harder. How do you, if you're not a competent reader, how do you get through high school? It's just, you don't have to be a great reader, but you have to be a competent reader. And I believe that almost all kids, I did this documentary movie, Murder of a Small Town, out, and we did it in Pahokee and Belglade and at my old hometown, Newburgh, New York. And there was a kid who had murdered somebody in town, and I went up to see him in Hamilton Prison. And walking through the cells here, it was really interesting. It was mainly younger African-American males, and almost all of them are big readers now because they're in their cells 20 hours a day or whatever, and they don't have, there's no TV there, And had they been big readers or been, reasonable readers when they were in high school, a lot of them wouldn't be there.
So you started writing children's books for your son, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, everyone has...
That would boil it down. But,
That's
you do
basically
the one sentence answer, and then, it's...
So kind of take me through your day. Do you write every single day?
I do. Somebody said you're lucky if you find something you like to do in life, and then it's a miracle if somebody will pay you to do it. So that's my gig. I just did this novel with President Clinton, and we're both from small towns, and we talked about this a lot. And he's from Hope, and I was from Newburgh, New York. And when I was a little kid, President Eisenhower came to town, and I never forgot seeing President Eisenhower from like 200 feet away or whatever. And then I had the opportunity to spend a year with a president, an interesting president, and it was just irresistible. And both of us felt that it was really, I've been poor and I've been middle class, and then I was poor and middle class again, and now I'm rich. And on balance, I find that rich is better. But I'm really glad I'm a better writer and I think a better human being, having gone through the different stages of the economy or whatever. The demographics.
You went on a book tour with Bill Clinton.
2, actually.
Did you learn anything you didn't know about him?
He talks a lot. He's great. You know, I don't want to get political about this because, you know, I have played golf with Bill Clinton, both of the Bushes, President Trump, so I'm an equal opportunity golfer. So I'm not going to get into politics of it. But you think about his life and Hillary's life, and they really are, I mean, they really are public servants. And this whole thing about them, you know, rich, and they're not rich. I've been to their houses. They're not rich, you know. But they have devoted their lives to, I think, doing a good thing for people.
So the word prolific has been used a lot today.
And we're not going to use it now.
Your career.
We're going to use other
very
words
successful.
like...
Yeah, how do you crank out that many books?
Cranking.
Craft. How do you craft that many?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, you know, as you know, I co-write some of them. The co-writing is interesting because the way that works, and no, I don't need any co-writers, thank you very much. I had some offers last night, and which is great, except that I'm kind of full up. But what I will do is I will do a 60 to 80 page outline for every book that or almost every one that I do with a co-writer. I then encourage them to contribute to the outline for two reasons. One, I want their contributions, and secondly, I want them emotionally invested. And if they have a couple of ideas, and then they go, oh, now it works, and I'm going, okay, now it works. And that's important. And then unlike a publisher who will say, you know, see you in a year, I'll say, you know, I'd like to see stuff every couple of weeks. And then I go, yay, or hold it, we're off the track. And better to hear that 2 weeks down the line than, you know, when you turn in the book and they go, oh, this isn't what I was looking for, you know. So it kind of works that way. And then I will come in and do 1 or 2 drafts. In the beginning, with the co-writing, I would do 3 or 4 drafts. I don't do as many now. Because people, I think the people I work with, they kind of know what we're doing now. There was one year when I was doing the book shots, the novellas, where I did 2,600 pages worth of outlines. Just a lot if you think about it. That's a lot of outlines, yeah.
So what is your advice?
That's prolific.
That is prolific.
Yeah.
What is your advice for young authors?
Don't do it. Get a day job. I do think, and I was thinking about this with respect to the book about Cassius Clay, the notion of dreaming big. And I don't know if anybody saw, what's the Bradley Cooper, A Star is Born. I loved the first quarter or so of that movie, right until she sings the one song. I don't want to spoil the movie. But it was such a thing of, you know, you could feel it. This is when you dream big, and all of a sudden, on stage, she has that moment of, holy whatever, this is what happened. You know, it is possible. But I love the notion of dreaming big as Cassius Clay did as a kid, but also having a backup dream, which I think is really smart. And I was in business, you know, for several years before my dream really started to come true.
What was your backup dream?
My backup, I worked in advertising, you know, but I've been clean for over 20 years.
You know, I heard you talking earlier with the reporter.
There were some advertising people here. Advertising in, yeah. No, they're good advertising people. And then in New York, not so much.
That helped you? And
I think it was irrelevant.
Really?
I think that I had a sense, once again, coming from where I came from, small town, no money, I've mixed it up with a lot of kinds of people, and I think my gut has always been pretty good about what's going to move people. And what I'm always trying for, I don't always get it, is highest common denominator. And that's my issue with the TV stuff that we've sold. It's like common denominator, but it's not highest common denominator, which I would prefer. We're doing a thing now with Netflix on this Jeffrey Epstein thing, and I'm hoping, the director we're working with has been nominated for a couple of Academy Awards, and so I'm hoping this thing gets the highest common denominator.
I heard you talking with the Palm Beach Post reporter earlier about
They did that picture of me? Did you see that picture?
I know, you didn't like it.
How can they run a picture? No, I'm all good with the Post, wherever you are. You're good.
Well, the reporter said
Do good by the college. By the way, I didn't know that much about Palm Beach State before this. I am stunned by this school. I'm stunned by it. And I had a similar experience several years back with Dreyfus, where it was like, wow, this is a gem. And if you ever get the chance to go to their, the concert that we sponsor, Prism, it'll knock your socks off. It's unbelievable. And once again, and just a small point, but what they've done with this room is, that just shows you, these are smart people. And the speeches, and I've just had half a dozen in the last month or so, colleges that have come down and they're looking for money in Palm Beach and stuff.
They're not looking for money here, though.
I know. And that's another great thing. They don't really care about your money. They do care, but the speeches were terrible. And some of these are Ivy League schools and whatever, but it's really, really, really impressive. Really impressive.
You were talking about
And with respect to the Post and other people covering the school, I think there's a lot of truth to this notion of this school being right at the heart of Palm Beach County.
You were talking with the Palm Beach Post reporter about a program that you're working on with the state to get kids reading at grade level. How do you think colleges like Palm Beach State College can impact their students in the...
Let me just back up to the thing that's going on with the state, because this is, to me, the most interesting and potentially biggest thing that I've ever been involved with. The percentage of kids reading at grade level in Florida right now is 43%. It's not great. Best in the country is Massachusetts at 62%. That's not great. University of Florida has been working on a program for 5 years up in the Gainesville area. They don't do it in Gainesville because there's too many professors' kids in that. But outside of, they have it up into the mid-80s. And they figured some stuff out, and I think they really have figured out some stuff that makes this work. We went, I got involved with them, and we went to the state legislature last April, and they gave us 10 districts in the state. And they said, if you don't have to get 80s, but if you get real good numbers, we'll take this across the state. And a couple of weeks ago, I was up in Tallahassee, and I wasn't supposed to meet with the governor because he was supposed to be out of town, but he wound up being in town. I met with him for an hour, or 20 minutes, I'm sorry. It seemed like an hour. No. No. He was great. He was terrific. And he said, what do you need as the next step? And I told him what we needed, and he said, I'm going to put it in my budget. And if this happens, if we can move Florida up into the 70s in terms of kids reading at grade level, it is it will save lives. When I go and talk to teachers, groups, or librarian groups, I always say, I'm here to save lives. And to remind them that that's what they're doing, because it's easy to forget it in the heat of the day and whatever's going on, and the kids are driving you crazy. But you really do save lives. My best friend is, at any rate, so what's going to happen in Florida, I think, will be monstrous, and it's a win for the teachers. It's a win for the kids, obviously.
What's the secret?
Well, a piece of it is, and I'm going to oversimplify just this one piece, and this is true in Florida and in most states. Teachers from preschool right through 4th grade, everybody teaches reading, but a lot of them have not been taught how to teach reading, okay? And that's a problem. And it's not that they're not great teachers and they're not terrific human beings, but they just haven't learned. And we went to a session in the summer, and the first day, the teachers were like, yeah. But by the second day, they said, we are learning really valuable stuff here. So there are some tricks, some real tricks that make these teachers so much better. And because of the computers now, they don't necessarily have to go and spend 300 hours in classrooms. We actually can get them this information on their computers and on their phones. And just they're terrific as they are, but and what I said to the teachers, I said, this isn't about gotcha. We're not going to be looking over your shoulder. We're not going to be comparing what you did last year. This is about help you. This is about help you being even better than you are. Yeah. So that's, it's such a cool thing. And if we can pull it off, it's it's just massive for the state.
Once they get to the college level, though, what
Yeah.
can colleges like Palm Beach State College do?
I think it continues.
Have the-
I mean, you're going to have kids coming in. That's why I love the A in here, the arts part of it. That we continue to, even if your bent is science, that stay creative, stay open, be compassionate. There's a lot of things that the arts brings to the table, which it's really useful to people in science and math and other disciplines. I think it's extremely useful for doctors to open it up. You're a scientist, and they want to. A lot of doctors. Well, I have the answer. Here it is. And the way they talk to patients. But a friend of mine did a book against medical advice, and the Boston University, they invited us, my friend, to come to the beginning of their school year, and they made all the professors and all the students read it because they felt it was so great at getting pre-med and doctors to think more about the patient side of the equation. To put yourself in. They're always doing this thing. Oh, it won't hurt that much. You'll be up and about in a week. Like 6 weeks later, you're like, oh man, it's still hurting. Well, that's normal.
Right.
Anyway, you said I'd be up in a week.
Right. We talked about one person at this event is going to win the chance to be a character or be the name of one of your characters in one of your books.
Preferably a name with not too many consonants in it. Sometimes you get the names and you're like, oh my God, how am I gonna, yeah.
I'm curious if you see any of your characters in yourself.
In this room?
No, in yourself.
Yeah. Well, I was in advertising, so I met a lot of serial killers. Yeah. I'm sorry, do I see?
Do you identify
do
really
I
with
in myself? A little bit with Alex Cross.
Yeah.
Really family-oriented. The struggle of work versus home, and devoted to his kids and his. That there's a piece of me in that for sure.
I feel like you've done pretty much everything that you've wanted to do. I mean, you're getting
No,
into
not
the
even
film
close.
industry. So tell me, what's something that you haven't done that you really, really want to do?
Skydive.
Professionally.
Yeah. No, I don't. I'd like to. Every time I sit down to do a book, I always hope it's going to be the best. There's a book I did a few years ago, The Black Book, which I think is the best of the mysteries that I've done. So you're always hoping that, like with the kids' books. I did this book, Potty Mouth and Stupid.
Yeah, my son has it.
It's about word bullying, which is worse in schools than physical bullying. When I was a kid, physical bullying was a big deal. Now word bullying is even worse. And some of the gatekeepers would go, oh, it's got stupid in the title. Yeah, because it's about word bullying. And it's about two kids who, when they're 4 years old, they get these labels. And when they're 11 and 12, they still have those labels, and how they get out of that. And it's a really cool story. But yeah, the kid's called stupid. I'm sorry.
All right, so I want to do a quick lightning round with you
Jesus.
before we get to questions from the audience. And I just
A, D, C.
And I just want you to
Adverb.
say the first thing that comes to mind.
Railroad.
Okay?
Spinach.
Favorite book?
100 Years of Solitude.
Favorite author?
James Joyce. A lot, too many to really. So many. I'm going to say all this stuff that make you think I'm smart.
Favorite character in one of your books?
They'd all be so insulted if I picked one. I'm not going to face that kind of grief.
Hard copy or ebook?
I'm sorry.
Hard copy or ebook?
Paper.
Facebook or Instagram?
Neither.
Palm Beach or New York?
Palm Beach.
One thing people don't know about you?
I think a lot of people don't know I write kids' books. One thing that people don't know about, I don't know. Skip. Next.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
I guess phonies. Yeah.
And your greatest joy?
I'm just huge on family. I'm very lucky. I love my wife. I love our son. He's 21. He just invited us to his 21st birthday.
Wow.
At school, at college. Can you imagine? And of course, he reminded us how great an honor it was that he. But it was great. It was some tacky bar up in Providence, and 200 kids. And about 100 of them came up and said, "Jack, we love Jack. He's so nice. He's so, so it was great."
Yeah. And what's he studying?
Well, weirdly, they don't have majors here. They have areas of concentration, and this is at Brown. And so it's economics and religious studies. So he'll either be like a really rich minister or a really conscientious banker. I don't know. No, I mean, by the way, Bank of America, you guys, Merrill Lynch, great.
All right, we want to take some questions from the audience.
Sure.
How are we? Do we have?
You can just you stand up. I think we can probably hear
Here you go.
Okay.
I'll repeat his question if I can hear it.
Yeah.
So I'll try to speak loud.
You're too fast. Your poor wife.
Yeah, absolutely. Busy.
Why did you skip 8?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to. We don't need to go that deep into your. It's good. It's all good.
So the question is, are you familiar with Waldorf pedagogy as an education? And if so, what do you think? And thirdly, what do you think as it relates to sort of our tech economy going forward and how that
This is
expands
so easy. No.
Yeah. No.
No.
No, you're not familiar with Waldorf.
Tell us in a line or two.
So Waldorf, Maria Montessori is, we're all pretty familiar with Montessori schools.
Yeah.
So Waldorf is a pedagogy, like my kids, no testing, no grading.
Okay.
No homework?
And it's very involved in the arts.
My thing on that is kind of you need to work it out with your kids. If it works great for them, it's a great thing. If it doesn't, Jack was in Montessori originally. We felt that structure would be better for him, and that worked out great for him. So you'll have to figure out your own stuff. But it can be great for some people. Yeah. Next question.
Right over here.
I can skirt around. Yeah. Yeah, this is about teacher shortages now, in Palm Beach County, all over Florida, and in a lot of states. The biggest thing, I think there are a couple of big things. One, we got to stop beating up teachers and sitting on them. They need to be able to be teachers again. We need some standards up to a point. That's huge, and I think it's an issue with doctors. We just have to stop. And what's related is just respect. We got to get out of this. Those that can't teach, and that's crazy. Those who are courageous teach. My mother was a teacher for almost 50 years, so I'm a big teacher fan. Yes. Is Palm Beach going to get the University of Florida program? I don't know where we're going next year. They didn't initially because they had just changed Chancellor of Education. There was just that changeover. So during that, it didn't quite work out. But I hope so. This would be a great county for it, I think, because you have such a disparity from one side of the county to the other side in terms of opportunities. Yeah.
Coming from a different generation.
Yeah. You're talking about me?
I think I'm a generation ahead of you yet.
Which side? Well, I think, once again, it's hard to judge other people's lives. But I do think with respect to reading that is the job of the parents, and they have to stop going, it's the job of the school. It's not the job of the school to get your kids reading. It's your job It's the grandparents' job up to a point, aunts and uncles. It is our job to get our kids reading, especially if it's not happening. Because if the kids aren't reading, you're just doing them a terrible disservice in terms of their opportunities, their choices later in life. So, yeah. Yeah.
To the winner of character in your book, will you make them
To the winner of the character in the book, will we make him a bad guy or a bad person or a good person? If you get the word to us, probably a good person, because I don't have so many villains. And once again, then we run into the 9 consonants in the name, and it gets a little tricky. So probably a good person. By the way, in terms of just the stimulus that I felt through this thing, and I hope you all feel it, and I hope similar things happen. I'm going to try to give some scholarships to the school. I should say, I should say that my wife and I are going to, and I'm sure she's going to be in agreement with this. But I really am knocked out. And if she isn't, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. Yeah.
You. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. It's a real honor.
The free food, what the heck? You know?
Oh, totally, right? So when it comes in terms of moving forward in educating the creative process, how do you think, what's one way you think that technology has added to that, and one way that you think that it's stripped away from the creative process?
I don't know. I mean, you have the scary thing that, robots writing my books 20 years from now. It clearly has made it so much easier to get information, so much easier. I mean, when I first started writing, it was hard. I mean, you had to go to the library and figure out how to get the books out, and now, it's just at your fingertips. So from a writer's standpoint, it's so much better. I still write with a pencil, so haven't actually moved into the S or the T, So yeah, I write with a pencil, with an eraser. Yeah. Yeah. Next.
Yes.
What are your reading suggestions for like a sophomore or junior going into college?
Sophomore, junior in high school?
Yeah.
Oh, and I'll just give you one, if you haven't read it already, The Book Thief. You read that? Great book. That's one of my absolute favorites. Look, you can't go wrong almost. There's so many good books out there. Yeah. Where are we?
How?
Hi.
What is writing?
We met
to
before,
you?
didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is writing to you?
What is writing to me? There's some really good questions coming flying out here. I don't know. Part of it goes back to what I said before. It's so lucky when you can, you can make your livelihood out of something that you love to do. I think it's the opportunity on some level to tell the truth about what you see in the world. Your truth, and it can be very realistic in terms of your writing or symbolic. Every once in a while, somebody will say about myself, well, it's not very realistic. I just go that's not a fair criticism. You can say I don't like it. I don't write realism. So to me, it's like looking at a Picasso and go, it's not very realistic. Really? Yeah, good point. But that's, you can say I don't like Picasso. I don't like that kind of painting. So yeah, but that, just trying to, what I see in terms of truth, things that I want to say. I don't like to preach at people. Kids' books, they're always going, what's the lesson? I don't know what the lesson is. I mentioned potty mouth and stupid, word bullying. I want kids to think about that because, we can all be cruel sometimes. And you'd like to be where when it starts to come out, you just kind of stop it. You just go,
Do you ever get writer's block?
no.
No.
Yeah. No, I don't because I'm always working on several things at the same time. And when I get to a chapter, if I don't have it solved, I move on. I'll get at the next draft. So I think that's useful for writers too. If you're not getting it, don't
force it.
Don't sit there with it. Get off of it, because I think that's where it starts to get hairy and it gets in your head. And yeah, go to the next chapter. Also, outlines for writers, absolutely indispensable for 98% of writers. Work from an outline. And then once again, you're not going to get writer's block if the outline said this is what happens. You sit down and you already kind of know what that chapter, at least in theory, what it's going to be. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure. I'm all over the place. I was in a PhD program at Vanderbilt, so I started out as a literary snob. Still have some of that. Read a lot of heavy fiction. I like crime fiction occasionally. I read kids' books. I have a kids' imprint at Little Brown, so I have to read a lot of manuscripts, kids' manuscripts for the most part. Yeah. So I'm everything. Not too much poetry, but I do have Louise Gluck, and I like her. Yeah.
Have you ever tried writing?
And, it's working. What can I tell you, dude? Yeah. When I was the CEO of J. Walter Thompson North America, and when I was there, this is a while back too. So I brought the IT guy in. I said, I got to make the move here, and so he gave me the tutorial, and I couldn't get through the tutorial, and I'm like, oh damn, man. So I had the guy come up. He couldn't get through the tutorial. I said, take it away. So that was my terrible experience with machines.
Someone right back
on
here.
pencils, and the pencils are working, and the publisher doesn't want me to work any faster.
Hi. I was wondering, you were talking
I like
a little
that.
bit
Hi.
about your...
You're the first one.
Hi. I was wondering, you were talking about your early writing and how different it was. And before you wrote your first book, had you been writing on the side in the background? And how do you go about developing those characters? Do you always start by outline like you just said? Or how did you learn to do that?
The first experience, my first book was turned down by 31 publishers. It then won an Edgar as Best First Mystery. So if you get turned down, whatever. I still keep the names of all the editors who turned it down. In case they send me a book for a blurb. It's a strange business. I don't know. It was such a complicated question. But that part I can answer. Next. Even though you said hello.
Hi there.
Couple more, and then we.
You said you write every day, and
Yeah.
that you move from piece to piece. Could you describe your actual daily writing? I mean, do you have a place in your house where you go and write? It's nice. and how often are you working for 2 hours and take a break, and when you finish a book?
I work 7 days a week. I write every day. I love it. I usually will get up early between 5 and 6, write for an hour, read a little bit of newspapers, Palm Beach Post, and then a lot of times I'll go out and golf for an hour and a half or so, walk around and just not think about. Then I'll come back and write some more. Usually have a lunch with my wife, and then write some more. And I pretty much will write all day, 7 days a week. Still, she loves me. Audio tapes versus the books. Honestly, I never listen to my audio tapes because I kind of know the stories. I do listen to other people's audio tapes. I like audio tapes a lot, and especially when I'm driving. But I like it's a lot of the books. I would buy the books and they would sit on the shelf, like David McCullough's Truman, and it would be, I don't know if I'm going to get a hernia if I take, but a lot of those books that I would buy and wind up not reading. Now with audio, I will read them, or I will listen to them. Yeah.
Hi. You
Hi.
talked about common denominators. What's something that makes a book go from the common denominator of good to great? What are your common denominators?
You mean from highest to the... I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it is books that can change you as a human being, make you a better person, make you understand something you didn't understand before. There's always this argument about, is style content? Some people feel that style is content. I tend not to lean that way, but sometimes you just get somebody and they're just such a great stylist that you come under their spell, just the way they put words together. I would tend not to, give the highest awards to those, but I do love books. I mentioned The Book Thief. It's just an amazing take on Nazi Germany from a kid's point of view who was in the middle of it. And I think it's kind of brilliant, and it just changes the way you look at things. For me, anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, how old is Alice Cross? Michael Connelly. Yeah. Well, Michael Connelly, who's a smart enough guy, but he made a stupid mistake. Okay? He has the Harry Bosch character. He made the mistake of, just because the book comes out a year later, he aged Harry a year. Stupid. Just because the book comes out a year later, my book comes out, the next book comes out a year later, Alex is only a week older. Okay? Now, I learned that from John D. MacDonald. He had a character, Travis McGee, and he was smart enough to, every book he would age Travis maybe a week, 2 weeks. So Travis, maintained this, So I don't know how old Alex is, but not that old. The trick is the kids. I know, that's the tricky part. Yeah, I know. Well, she just, my wife's mother's 97, and she's still like totally with it and does the Times crossword, and so Nana's kind of like Lorraine. She just kind of keeps on going. Lorraine falls down the stairs once a year, and she just gets the frig up. It's amazing. You watch, you go, I'm okay. Really? How do you do that? What are you made of? What planet are you from? Which brings the thing of what planet is my wife from?
Okay.
Yeah. Hi.
I'm sorry, I've never...
Well, then let's get somebody else here. Then. No, that's perfectly. I haven't read any of your books either. It's cool. Well, thank you. The kids' books are pretty funny. Yeah, Alex, he just isn't that funny. He's, occasional wisecrack. But the kids' books are middle school, or the whole middle school series. I have a series, I Funny. You have a series called I Funny, it better be. I Funny is about a kid who decides he wants to be a stand-up comedian. So he's going to learn, and it is a little bit of a lesson for kids in terms of if you want something. So he studies every comedian there is, and he starts writing his own material, and that's kind of what you have to do if you really, that's what, I mentioned Cassius Clay, that's what he did. He just obsessed. He wouldn't drink soda pop, he wore these heavy shoes or boots around, he just knew that he was going to build himself and somehow chase this dream. So yeah, like that. Yeah.
Hi there.
Hi.
I have found it interesting that 3 recent movies have, and 2 that are up for Academy Awards, have portrayed women who have been ghostwriters and because they couldn't get the attention they deserved. One of them,
Women who would be...
who
I'm
were
sorry.
ghostwriting for their
Ghostwriting.
husband. So
Oh, okay.
the wife, obviously, Glenn Close is up for Best Actress.
Are you trying to suggest that Sue wrote my book?
No, not at all, not at all.
Oh,
but
okay.
Colette was another movie, and then
The Palm Beach Post is right here to get the story.
and then Melissa McCarthy is up for.
This will get
can
in
you ever
the
forgive me?
article, I swear to God.
Okay, so my question is there accuracy to the idea and the notion that women have struggled over the years to get the attention that they deserve in writing, and has there been any progress made for
Well, I think
for
there's
women
been a ton
writers?
of progress. Yeah, oh, for sure. A ton of progress. Is there truth? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you watch Ruth Bader Ginsburg, yes, it was very difficult and unfair and crazy. To me, one of the craziest things, and I do blame the media for this, is all of a sudden the Me Too thing, like we didn't know about this like 30 years ago? Are you kidding? Why don't they write about this stuff 30 years ago? I don't get that. That's why, I wrote a book on Jeffrey Epstein, and we're working on a movie with a documentary with Netflix now, because what a horrifying story. And around the country they don't know. But that to me is the worst of all the Me Too stories. Much worse than Cosby or Weinstein or whatever, So
When is
we'll
that
see.
coming out?
Well, we're just shooting now. So I think they want to put it out this year, though. Yeah. Secret to our great marriage? I think a piece of it is we're very comfortable with the other person doing what they do. Sue's a big swimmer. She swims every day. I write. She's comfortable. We get together. We're together a lot. Another piece of it, I think, is I wrote a book with a woman from Sweden at one point, Lisa Marklund. And when you write a book in America, it's hard to get anybody to interview you, but I went over to Stockholm, and we had like 47 interviews. It was like crazy. Well, it was good crazy. And the thing that they couldn't believe is that an American and somebody from Sweden could get along. And they said, well, how could this happen? And what we said is that we came into this relationship, Lisa Marklund and I, and we had mutual respect. We'd read each other's work, and then we listened. We listened. And I think that's the other thing about Sue and I. We have mutual respect. I feel very lucky that I'm with her. I think she feels occasionally lucky that she's with me. And we listen, mostly. So, I don't know. She's not here. She's leaving me. But
Mr. Patterson, Greg Rice here. You could see me if you'd let me stand on your wallet.
Oh, hi, how are you? Yeah, I got you.
Okay, good. It seems the world is coming down to my size, getting smaller and smaller every day because of the internet. And it also seems that I think one of the challenges that maybe we might be facing trying to get kids to read is books look big to them.
Yeah.
They're communicating, abbreviating everything and what have you.
Hmm?
What would I have to do to get you to write a series of short stories with me?
See, I told you. Yeah, we'll talk later. We'll have a very short talk.
So what's next?
Dream big.
What's next for you?
Oh, geez. I'm very excited about the Ali series, the Cassius Clay. As I said, I mean, a big part of it is just trying to do a better book every time you come out. The kids' book thing, this thing with the University of Florida, I'm really excited about. I'm excited about doing something now with this new college that I was aware of, but wasn't. And I think that's one of the keys. How do you? I mean, the reason that we sponsored the Prism concert for Dreyfus, it hasn't worked out as well as I had hoped, in the sense that I thought if enough people saw this, they would go, wow, what a gem we have in Palm Beach County. The trick is, I mean, the concert sells out in 20 minutes. So we haven't been able to bring as many people in as we'd like to see this thing. But similar thing here, how do we communicate, or how do you all communicate, and I'm sure you do a good job of it, that how essential this college is to this county? You know, I don't think people in Palm Beach know that very well. Palm Beach on the other side of the bridges.
This conversation has been extraordinary, and I know you agree with me that we could go on and on and on all afternoon listening to incredible stories, all kinds of questions. Obviously, in the interest of time.
I'll tell you one funny story, though, before you. This is the last
Absolutely.
one. I didn't tell you, this is just
We'll
a funny
take it.
story. So years ago, I was on that TV show, I told you about this, Castle. And the guy, and it makes no sense. The guy is a writer, and he gets to go on police raids and stuff, you know. And he would have this poker game, you know. And so he invited some real writers. I was on it once, and Michael Connelly was on it once. So I'm on an airplane, and I'm walking down the aisle, and this woman's pointing at me. She goes, "I know you, I know you." So I stop. "Hi, how are you?" She said, "You played Patterson on Castle." Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.